I urge people to be as passionate as possible about their political beliefs, but within the standard of good conduct, and be and model good free speech. When Twitter bans anyone, I have some issues with that. That said, there is some confusion about whether this violates the First Amendment, and of course, legally it doesn't. Twitter's a private company. The First Amendment says that government can't censor free speech. So as a private business, they have more latitude. Now, should social media platforms embrace First Amendment values? I really believe that they should, especially at a time when social media has this sort of quasi, kind of government impromptu that we have these days. The president, for example, used Twitter regularly to announce public policy. So, and then journalists who followed him on Twitter would write about that. So it's kind of complicated, and it's kind of all meshed together. And I think it's going to take some time to sort all this out. Twitter, after the January 6th events, thought that the president violated its terms of service and its policy because some of its, and they specifically cited two of his tweets that had the potential for inciting violence. And so they took that action. They have every right to do that. I think that given what was going on in the country at the time and the riots at the Capitol, that it's understandable. I believe strongly in free speech, as I've always said. Back when I was a newspaper opinion columnist and at the Fresno Bee, you counter bad speech with better speech. My training as a journalist since I was 19 years old. I had to go out and cover news stories and have all sides represented. And so I never took a position. I remember early on people say, oh, you're a liberal, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican. And I used to get criticized by both parties. I was actually early on a registered Democrat and then moved to an independent earlier in my career. And I think that the training about looking at all sides that a journalist does helps me see all sides in a way that maybe others don't. And and there's been times as a journalist, when I was editor of the paper and when I was as a reporter, I wanted to, at least in my mind, take a position, but that's not my role. My role is to try to give even-handed information that has all sides. My goal was to give voices to everyone, especially people who did not have power. The First Amendment is the heart of our work, but we have three main goals: to increase media literacy in our community, to identify fake news and disinformation, and give people strategies so they can sort that out, and then try to bridge that trust gap between news consumers and media outlets. So as part of that, we've tried to sort out this war against truth, as I call it, by those who want to have disinformation. Disinformation is when someone knowingly puts out disinformation for political gain or for some other purpose. So we want to give people strategies. We do a lot at the Media Institute to try to educate students on the First Amendment, and they need to understand that it's about government censorship, and private businesses can have their own rules on what they choose to put on their platforms. So we had a First Amendment program last year that our students put on, where they identified the 5 freedoms in the First Amendment, and we had taco trucks, and we did it at the university at the lunch hour. So if you could identify one of the 5 freedoms in the First Amendment, you got a free taco. So we figured First Amendment and food works pretty good. But a lot of people know, speech, religion, and press, but they forget about the right to assemble and the right to petition government, even though, that is what has been happening recently with the protests in the summer over police violence, and even, the riots at the Capitol was petitioning government, although done violently. So those 5 freedoms of the First Amendment are so important, and we want to make people aware of all those freedoms and know them and understand them and be responsible in exercising them. But the other thing is that you have to be committed to wanting to get to the truth. One of the challenges we have is we can't disagree with people anymore. We not only have to disagree with them, we have to hate them. So if you don't have my political views, I have to hate you. I can't be your friend. And so that's caused a silo. And they go to journalism, what I used to call, and what many in media used to call, journalism by affirmation. They go to media sites that affirm their political beliefs. Whether on the left it's, say, MSNBC, if on the right it might be Fox News. And so they want journalism. We don't have that common culture. We can't even agree on the facts. But if you have the same conversation, if you agree on the same facts, you can come to at least find a way to get together on issues that are of important, even if you don't agree with the philosophy. But if we can't even agree on what's factual, we've got a real challenge in this country. This day and age, if we're not teaching media literacy, disinformation and misinformation is going to get passed on. Disinformation is going to be very difficult because with technology, it becomes very easy to pass information along that's bad information through social media platforms, you could create websites and then you have a URL link and you send that out. Technology is way ahead of our ability to sort out disinformation. That's why the platforms need to do all that they can. Various institutes like ours need to do all they can. But in the end, we need to empower news consumers to understand the information that they are taking and passing on. But we always rise up. It may not seem like that we can, and that's why I always have hope. I always feel like that we need to be optimistic because we'll find solutions. We'll take one step forward and 2 steps back, but we're gonna get there. And I think that in the end, the democracy is a good one, and the framers and the founders, the work that they did to prepare us for this. Had what happened on January 6th happened in another country around the world, it would have collapsed. Our democracy survived that, and that's the optimistic. I was never more depressed than the end of the day on January 6th than I can think of. But as I stayed up all night and watched the Senate and the House do its work till 3 a.m., California time, so 6 a.m. or later, Eastern time, it gave me hope. And that's all. Hope means that all things are possible. It doesn't mean things are going to be perfect. And I think that we need to be positive about this. We need to be realistic. It's not going to be easy. Nothing's ever easy. And we're going to have a lot of challenges. I mean, this pandemic, 400,000 people have died from it. We can't meet with our students. Our students, can't meet with their peers. They can't attend football and baseball and softball games and play soccer or tennis competitively. We're going to have a learning gap, especially in the K-12 grades for years to come. We've got, mental health challenges because of this, but we're going to get past it and we're going to do better. It's not going to be perfect, that's for sure, but we have to be optimistic. And I am. I think this is the time to embrace optimism in a way. That's where we're going to find our solutions to be positive.